Remember the other day I shared a video that Donald Trump posted over on Truth Social. It was a propaganda video. God sent Donald Trump. In other words, the base loved it. The MAGA nuts, they loved it. Well, the Lincoln Project has put out a response to that propaganda video. Let's watch it.
And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a man to test the will and goodness of a free people. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who failed in everything but theft and broken promises to live in a golden palace and convince the poor he serves their needs. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a wicked man to lead the common folk with hatred and fear. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a corrupt man who is above the law and immune from justice. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who will use violence to seize power. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man whose followers will call black white, call evil good, and call criminals hostages. So God made a dictator. God said, I need his political party to obey without question, and the press fear his wrath. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a cruel man who uses his power and position to punish and harm his opposition. So God made a dictator. God said, I need a man who breaks the faith of even his most godly followers and leads them to idolatry. Place him above me. So God made a dictator. And then God said, I sent this man to test you, and until you cast him down, you have failed. So God made a dictator.
If you don't know, I believe the Lincoln Project was founded by Republicans. Everybody that I see that is tied to the Lincoln Project were former Republicans. Now, I'm not saying that Democrats don't work with the Lincoln Project. I'm saying that the people that I see tied to the Lincoln Project, they are former Republicans. Michael Steele, Kellyanne's husband, what's his name? George somebody. And the beautiful black woman that sometimes shows up on Joy Reid's show, right? She's got that blonde hair, beautiful. Those three specifically, I know, were former Republicans, and they are a part. They work with the Lincoln Project. When I saw the video, I was like, okay. In my opinion, when I see the video, it is them trying to appeal to the evangelicals, to the Christian folk that follow Donald Trump. They are trying to wake them up. They are trying to get them to see who Donald Trump really is. Why? Because they believe that these people are brainwashed by Donald Trump. I don't think these people are fully 100% brainwashed. A small piece of it, yes. A small piece of it, yes. They're a cult. I agree with that. But for the most part, I believe these people follow Donald Trump because they agree with all of the hate and racism that he spews. All of these people that went out in minus temperatures to vote for Donald Trump in Iowa. Why? Donald Trump hasn't talked about health care. He hasn't talked about helping the homeless. He hasn't talked about improving Medicare and Social Security. He hasn't talked about improving education as a whole in this country. He hasn't talked about anything of substance. He hasn't talked about taxing the rich and giving some relief to the middle class. He hasn't talked about increasing minimum wage. He hasn't talked about infrastructure across the country. He hasn't spoken of anything of substance that helps the American people. What has he talked about? This is what he's talked about.
Threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. We will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. How bad these people, they're evil, they're sick. And now these radical left lunatics, we will drive out the globalists. Crooked Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats are turning the United States into communist Cuba. As you know, Biden and the radical left Democrats, we are the ones saving American democracy from these very terrible...
That's all he's talked about. He's talked about retribution, right? He's talked about how he was the one responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade. He's the one that touts about the Supreme Court that he put together, the Supreme Court that is overturning rights for black and brown people, right? This is what he talks about. And this is what they love to hear from him. Why? Because they are no different from him. They use church, the word, the Bible, God, Jesus Christ, and religion. They use that to mask who they really are. But this is who they really are. This is why they flock to support Donald Trump. They have a tinge of hope that Donald Trump is going to squash the black and brown communities, the LGBTQIA community. They have a small glimmer of hope because of the hate and racism that he spews. That's why they flock to him. That's why they support him. Nothing more. And to try to appeal to them in any type of a humanistic way is a waste of time, in my opinion. They are him and he is them.